Hello, this is Alfred Brock with CNC News Co. and I've got some information for you about the toxic waste that was being moved out of Ohio and into Michigan. Both liquid and solid waste from the East Palestine rail disaster are being shipped to Wayne County, and a lot has already arrived. The most populous county in the state is also home to Detroit City. Plans include using a crude injection well system with a checkered past and that has been run by a parade of contractors, which will pressurize the toxic chemicals and force them into the substrate. Injection wells are a crude method for the disposal of toxic and other liquid wastes. They were first used in the nascent petroleum industry to dispose of salt water and other chemicals that come up with oil, and to repressurize oil fields to extract more oil. This was made obvious to the oil extractors back in the 19th century. Michigan has encouraged this practice in no small way to become an industry which is shadowed in operation, has a quick change of hands by operators, and there seem to be other questionable practices. It has been encouraged in order to offset the cost by a private industry in dealing with poisonous, deadly, toxic waste that are created during normal operations. The wells are so common that even many gas and service stations in Michigan use them to inject wastewater, oil, gasoline, diesel fuel, and other contaminants into the earth rather than disposing of them otherwise. One of the choices when they just choose to dispose of them otherwise is to end up going to a large injection well like this one. Now, the problem with this practice is known as migration. Shortly after the well that these wastes from East Palestine, Ohio will go to here in Michigan was approved, the materials migrated into natural gas wells operated by Sunoco, and the facility needed to be shut down, and a rich producing set of natural gas wells and storage caverns needed to be shuttered and abandoned. Apparently, the governor of Michigan was aware of the transport into the state, but announcements were made by Wayne County officials along with officials from neighboring communities and the communities in which this waste is being transported to. U.S. Representative Debbie Dingell was also at the announcement. Now, Governor Whitmer, an embattled Democrat who has made recently some radical decisions involving sensitive social issues, has been unwilling to address state health issues that include an emergency regarding hundreds of thousands of homes with lead service lines. It has been made clear the state of Michigan will not provide any relief to families across the state unless local governments take loans from the state to replace the contaminated water pipes. Even so, some communities have been rewarded hundreds of millions of dollars, including the city of Detroit, which was the beneficiary of nearly $1 billion to do that sort of work. They are planning on injecting the liquid into the ground in Romulus, which is the city which contains the Detroit airport, and apparently some has already arrived at one of the dumps in Van Buren Township. One of the dumps in Van Buren Township that may accept the waste accepts also low-level radioactive waste from medical operations. A great deal of the radioactive materials are imported from Canada, along with tremendous amounts of other toxic waste, biomedical waste, industrial waste, construction waste, and even household trash imported from Canada into the state of Michigan, Canada being the second largest country in the world exporting trash to the state of Michigan. That particular site that we're referring to, along with the others in the local region that handle a large percentage of the waste from southwestern Ontario and large areas around Michigan, have been a local problem to residents for decades, while enriching the coffers of local governments that host the behemoths, as well as generating fees and business for state agencies like EGLE. EGLE is the acronym for the Michigan Department of the Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. They came into being after the Department of Environmental Quality was disbanded in Michigan. The DEQ approved the well in the city of Romulus, and EGLE currently handles permits and fees for the operation. EGLE and its predecessor, the DEQ, were created under an agreement between the United States Environmental Protection Agency and the state of Michigan. The reason given for this was that it streamlined government. The agreement allows the state of Michigan to be free of direct EPA oversight, like Ohio EPA does for Ohio. If the state of Michigan maintains laws that support or are close to those that the EPA operates under, then the EPA stays out of Michigan unless there's an egregious problem or a large project like the well. The state of Michigan did approve the well in Romulus, and the EPA approved the final rule on the operation of the well. Now, an example of an egregious problem is the East Palestine, Ohio toxic waste disaster. And that was made worse by igniting the material while the United States Environmental Protection Agency apparently was on site. The state of Michigan allows EGLE to regulate chemicals that pollute the air, water, and soil. It is generally agreed that they have been operating in the best interests of large corporations and special interests like those from Ontario, while riding roughshod or ignoring the needs and lives of the people of the state of Michigan. Local governments in this part of the country run under rules and laws crafted primarily from the 1960s, and even newer communities like the loosely enfranchised charter townships that are essentially given a free hand in their dealings to the detriment of the environment and the people who live here. Lower income communities are already burdened with the highest rates of cancer, kidney disease, respiratory illness, and cancer are targeted in this irresponsible plan. Whether on purpose or not, that's what's going on. The city of Wayne is one of these communities, plagued by these diseases and other health concerns, like over 400 homes requiring their lead service water lines to be replaced. The state of Michigan insists on mandates to run their relationships with the communities. They issue commands through departments of the state, but do not fund them. This allows the state of Michigan to push off responsibility as well as the financial liability for addressing public health concerns like air pollution, water pollution, the destruction of the land, the opioid epidemic, and even when it was at its height, the COVID-19 pandemic. They are literally, in this case, trying to bury their destructive error from Ohio in the state of Michigan. I want to thank you for listening to what we have had to say here, and the governor's office of the state of Michigan has not responded to contacts made regarding this item. Have a great day and have a great week. This is Alfred Brock from CNC News Co., the trusted name in specialty news.